Good afternoon, everybody. Yesterday we were looking at RV263, Concerto in E major, all finished. It was a real nightmare to put in because there were so many little grace notes and things, but all done now. As I was saying yesterday, I knew the version of this concerto from the Opus 9, but I didn't know the manuscript version of the concerto. It's quite interesting. If we have a look at some of the corrections that Vivaldi was making, towards the end of the first movement, he inserted a sheet of paper and produced a sort of edited version of what he'd originally written. So here we go along here, and then he says go to the insert, which is there. Then he says go to the end. Which is there. The final ritornello of the first movement stands as he'd originally written it. But just for out of interest, I decided to have a look at what he had originally written. And we have this sort of idea of a sort of romantic idea of a composer who composes something and then has divine inspiration and then goes back and crosses it out and then produces the ultimate version. But with Vivaldi, it's not really how it worked. I mean, often you find changes to concertos, possibly because it was written he wanted it to use it for a different occasion, or maybe he had a different soloist in mind, and maybe that soloist was particularly good at doing one thing and not another, for instance. But the original version of the end of the movement was quite interesting. It's got some really nice harmonic twists in it. I was a bit perplexed for a while because some of the accidentals didn't make sense. And then I saw underneath this bit of scribbling out here. Oh, there's actually he's changed from E major to E minor. There, it took me a little while to notice that one, or to see what he'd done, and then goes back to E major there. As I say, it's well worth doing what he had originally written. Brilliant first movement. Second movement's very nice, but you can see maybe things weren't going quite as well as he had hoped. For instance, there seems to be some confusion as to what he seems to be in two minds as to what exactly he wants with the instrumentation here. He had originally written violins only playing the bass, and then he changed his mind to violins and violas. This is tutti. Again, he had originally written violini soli, violins alone, and then he scrubbed that out and wrote violins and violas alone. And then at the end, he'd originally written bassi soli, so just the basses alone, and then changed his mind, crossed that out, and wrote tutti. Now, then we have the finale, which Vivaldi composed, and apparently, but from looking at the manuscript, he appears to have got a little bit stuck. There are several places in this manuscript which don't particularly work very well. And Vivaldi seems to have been aware of this himself. In fact, right here, we can see that he's tried to sort out one of the problems by sticking a little piece of paper over what he'd originally written, and there are lots and lots of crossings out. It just kind of feels to me as though Vivaldi wasn't having a particularly great day, which may explain, therefore, why the concerto that appears in the Opus 9, which is a brilliant concerto, the last movement is actually works really well because it was freshly composed. So there you go. That's 263. Maybe we should give all our concertos an aid rating. So I'd probably say that out of 10, that's probably scores about 5, because the last movement's a bit disappointing. First movement's brilliant, second movement's good, last movement, he's let himself down a bit, hasn't he? Never mind. But he did write sort of 250, so you've got to have a bad day occasionally. So now we're looking at a concerto in E minor, this one RV273. Again, autograph from Turin. I'm guessing that this is a very late concerto. Interestingly, he actually includes some figures in the bass part, which is quite unusual. It's very, very rare for Vivaldi to put those, and you can just see down the bottom there, you've got some 7 sharp. And the other thing is, there are a couple of places where he writes in the manuscript senza cembali, which means without harpsichords. Now, it's the fact that he specified harpsichords in the plural possibly means that this was written for use in the theatre as an entr'acte concerto, for instance, where you definitely had 2 harpsichords. Most of the time in concerts and stuff, unless you were the emperor, Charles VI, you probably just had 1 because you're trying to save money. But yeah, so this is possibly a concerto written for the theatre. My hunch is that it's going to be a cracker. Certainly, having a quick look through. And interestingly, down here there's a chord sequence which mostly one only finds in Tartini's music. I'm sure Vivaldi has used it before, but I can't remember a sequence, a sort of Tartinian sequence like this that I've noticed before. So maybe that also marks it out as being quite a late concerto. So just have a quick butchers at the opening movements. Here we go. So there you go. That's my task for today. I've got a good feeling about this one. I think this could be a real cracker. Certainly E minor seems to be a key that inspired Vivaldi greatly. A lot of the pieces that we've done, particularly the concerto a few years ago, RV278, absolutely brilliant. So looking forward to this. See you tomorrow. Cheers.